Have you ever told yourself to surrender, to lean back, to trust your feminine flow, but your body's not on board with that? It's still in overdrive, your brain is spiraling, and you're gripping harder than ever before and just can't seem to either get into or stay in that flow state. Today, we're going to be talking about the gap that I think is under talked about when we discuss divine feminine energy work. You can't embody flow until your nervous system feels safe enough to stop forcing. But you also can't embody flow when your mind and your body are not in coherence. And this is the exact shift that I've had to revisit recently. Because even as someone who teaches this work, I still get caught in old loops of control, fear, trying to figure it all out in my head. I am not immune to the pressures that come in from outside, the comparison game online, and so on and so forth. So if you are a high-achieving female leader who wants to feel more connected, more present, more supported in your relationship, in your daily life, and in your work, but you don't know how to get your body on board, then keep listening. Welcome to Too Much, Not Enough, the podcast helping 6- and 7-figure female leaders understand how chasing success is causing low self-worth and anxiety, and how awakening your divine feminine energy will reignite flow, abundance, and ease, making you feel excited about life again. I'm your host, Hannah O'Donovan, channel and activator of the untamed divine feminine. Let's get into it. In this episode, you'll discover what brain-body coherence actually is and why it's often the missing link for female leaders who are craving more clarity, confidence, and ease. The somatic tools and mindset shifts that help you stop outsourcing your power and start listening inward. And how divine feminine energy works practically, not just conceptually, to reduce anxiety, build trust, and unlock that ease. So I talk a lot about the principles of divine feminine energy on this podcast. I talk a lot about tips and ways to lean into your divine feminine energy, but I had a bit of an aha moment the other day when I realized that there's this gap between women being cognitively sold on slowing down and receiving, but their body still being wired for survival, productivity, and proving. And I know this so intimately because I have been through it many times. And as you know, it's not a one and done. Sometimes we have to come back to this over and over again, but you can't just necessarily say, okay, I want to access the divine feminine principles of trust and flow and receptivity and snap your fingers and there you go. First and foremost, you require nervous system safety, which I talk about a lot. So I'm not going to go into that too deeply today, but that is a very important part of this. But secondly, you need this brain-body coherence to actually seal in this new pattern that you are trying to work towards. So defined in simple terms, coherence is when your thoughts, your emotions, and your physiology are in harmony, not constant conflict. So you're thinking something, your body feels safe with that thought, your emotions are in line with those thoughts, and your actions and how you actually feel in your body. These all line up together to allow you to embody what it is you are working towards. And here's the thing that I think a lot of this conversation out there misses. So you're thinking, okay, great. I've decided that I want to flow into more divine feminine abundance. And I'm starting to provide the felt sense of safety in my nervous system. But I'm still shifting back into these old patterns, maybe quickly or, I'm good for a few months and then I shift back, I get caught up. And I think it's so important that we talk about the 3 practical anchors of coherence here because there's a little bit of pretending involved. And let me explain what I mean. So the first practical anchor of coherence is awareness. We need to build the skill of noticing when you're in your head versus when you're in your body. And more importantly, when your head and your body are not communicating together. That is super important. And the more that we actively engage in this work, the more awareness that naturally comes. Awareness is so, so important, because if we're not aware that our brain and our body are out of coherence, then how are we going to know to do anything about it? So awareness is a foundational skill, but it's not going to move you in the direction you want on its own. And then number 2 is regulation. So using somatic tools to shift your state. When you are feeling in a state of fight flight, when you are thinking about maybe saying no to something that you would previously say yes to because it's not aligned with how you want to feel, then having those somatic tools to help regulate yourself in the moment. That's breath, that's movement, sound, pleasure, grounding practices, the practical tools where you can say to your body, I see you, I hear you, I understand you're feeling uncomfortable, that you want to shift into a safety mechanism here and put, the body into fight flight to signal that something's not right. But like, I am driving the ship here, and I'm going to use these tools to bring you down in the moment so that you understand that like we're working for something more long term. And then the third thing I think is the thing that is least talked about, because it's possibly the hardest. It's the one that you have to commit to every day in order to see real change. And that is a repatterning. And that involves actually thinking about who it is that you want to be, thinking about the woman that you want to embody, how she connects to these divine feminine principles that you want to integrate seamlessly into your life, that you want to be the things that are driving your decisions. And you need to pretend to be her before you are her. So perhaps you take time to sit down and create an alter ego. This alter ego being the person that already embodies this future state you are working towards. My alter ego's name is Birdie, and I dreamed her up like 4 years ago. And I really took some time to think about like, what is Birdie like? What does she do? What does she wear? How does she respond to the people she loves? How does she respond to strangers? How does she make decisions? How does she say no to things, even when it's hard? And really think about like, how would Birdie act? Birdie, who is this embodiment of divine feminine principles, how would she act and respond in this situation? And almost like trying on that persona. Because the thing is that your brain actually can't like deeply tell the difference between reality and imagination. So what you are doing when you are trying on this alter ego, this persona, in certain situations or throughout your day, you are repatterning, rewiring your brain to take this leap between where you are at now and where you want to be. Shifting from what should I do to what feels true right now. And so these 3 anchors have to work together. It's not just about awareness. It's not just about regulation. And it's not simply about this repatterning, rewiring. All 3 are important. And I think we miss this repatterning, rewiring piece. Our brains are very pliable. If you've ever heard of neuroplasticity, you can, in fact, like change the pathways in your brain by essentially practicing behaviors over and over and over again. Even when that voice in your brain is so fucking loud saying, this is stupid, or this isn't going to work, or this isn't who you are, you keep practicing it. It's why gratitude works. Even when you're like, oh, I was literally sitting at the table the other day, and have the awareness that I want to bring my gratitude practice in. And I was holding my bowl of food and I was saying to it, I'm so thankful for this food and how it will nourish my body. I'm so grateful that I have access to this food. And my partner was like, what are you doing? Because I was saying this in my head. So I'm just holding this bowl, like staring at it. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I am showing gratitude for my food. And I was like, so I repeated to him that I was saying that I'm so grateful for my food and how it's going to nourish my body. And that I have access to this food. And hopefully this stupid fucking practice works. Because here's the thing, your brain's not going to get on board right away. Like the number of times I've implemented a gratitude practice and I have this talk track going, this is so dumb. You don't care. You don't believe this. But the point is to keep doing it because you will eventually believe it. So this repatterning, rewiring, this trying on this persona, practicing basically who you want to be is such an essential part of bridging the gap, of creating that coherence between brain and body. And it is what I think gets missed most regularly, partially because it probably feels the silliest to do. Like building the skill of noticing when you're in your head versus in your body. Okay, fine. That seems cool and practical and it builds over time, but it's not that hard to access. Regulating. Okay, yeah, breath, movement, it feels good. I'm going to do it. But this like practicing being birdie, it can feel silly sometimes. And you really have to trust that the process works. Otherwise, you're not going to commit to it. So what does this look like in real life? Well, creating this brain and body coherence so that you can lean in and trust your feminine flow in the way you want to and get your body on board with that can look like making really tough decisions, like walking away from something that looks good on paper but feels off in your body. And the more that you are able, maybe at first, to do this in lower stakes situations and then build to higher stakes situations, the more you will then show your body how beneficial it is for your brain and body to be in coherence. You will also show your body that the world doesn't end when you say no to things that previously saying yes to has made you feel safe. And it's saying no without explanation, just because it keeps you in alignment. So not saying no and then being like, but I'm really sorry because of blah, 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 or like, I can't handle it right now. I can't do blah, 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 blah. It's just no is a full sentence. It looks like maybe replacing 4 hours of planning and spinning your wheels with 10 minutes of body-led clarity that actually leads you to better outcomes. Or even better, when you are spinning your wheels, having the awareness to say, okay, I'm going to step away from this right now, even though maybe you're like in this activated state that's like, no, I have to keep going. I have to get this finished. Like, for example, I was working last night on some things for this podcast. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to like work into the night and get this done. It would feel so much better to just wake up tomorrow and not have these things still on my to-do list. And I know that that is a slippery slope for me. So I haven't implemented a strict, like, work is done before dinner and you're not continuing it after dinner policy right now. And that is a non-negotiable. So yes, it felt in my experience in that moment that if I just got it all done now, I would feel better tomorrow. But that's not true. I would wake up the next day and actually feel more exhausted, more drained, and then be trying to drag myself through the day, which is really taxing on my body. So it's like knowing when to step away, give yourself the resourcing that you need in that moment, whether it's a nap, a walk, a laugh, a dance, some breath, and then come back so that you can get better outcomes quicker. And it's really also about building trust by letting life meet you halfway. So even when you don't have the full map, taking those first couple of steps that will uncover the next couple of steps and trusting trusting deeply that life will meet you. Even when you have that little gremlin in your brain saying, this is ridiculous. I can't believe I'm saying no to this opportunity or saying yes to this opportunity when there are these 50 reasons that it is not a good idea. And instead saying like brain, body, coming together on board. I'm listening to the information that my body's giving me and making sure that you are not overriding those decisions, because that is also something that gets really tricky, I find, in this. Like, again, going back to this idea that the 3 practical anchors of coherence have to work together. You can't just have the awareness, but then not work on the repatterning, or you can't just use regulation without the awareness, because then you would never know when you need to regulate. Same thing, you can't just do the repatterning without creating safety in your body through that regulation. So this triangle works together. You cannot remove one side of it. So that means that if you are building trust in your system, but then when your system lets you know, logically, this may not seem like the right next step, but this is the right next step for you. Your intuition is letting you know that, but then you override it and go back to the old version of you because of the safety, which I will be honest, will happen. But if you keep doing that, then you're teaching your body that, oh, she's going to keep overriding the signals. So either they need to get louder, which means you get more and more uncomfortable, or it's like, not now, and then it floods you down the line. So really like making sure that you are building that trust with yourself by listening to yourself and then letting life meet you halfway. We won't always have all the answers. We won't always know all the outcomes or how exactly it's going to happen. But when we trust life, it surprises and delights us in so many wonderful, wonderful ways. So if you are feeling like your brain is on board with this whole trust, surrender, divine feminine flow thing, but you keep settling into old patterns of hustle, of grinding, of forcing, of overdrive, your brain is spiraling, you're gripping harder than ever to control, then it's important to take a look at this brain-body coherence, because it could be the missing link that you have been searching for. And that means getting your thoughts, your emotions, and your physiology in harmony, not constant conflict, which is creating these issues of lack of confidence, of lack of clarity, of outsourcing your decision-making, self-doubt, and so on and so forth. Always remembering these 3 practical anchors of coherence, because we are all about being practical here. I'm not going to send you off into the world without practical ways to apply this. So it's about building the skill of noticing when you're in your head versus when you're in your body, so that you can employ your tools. So number 1 is that awareness. Number 2 is regulation, using those tools to shift your state to create a felt sense of safety so that your nervous system is on board with what you're trying to do. And then number 3, the one that often gets left out but is so important, is your repatterning and rewiring. So thinking about who you want to be, that persona or alter ego of who you want to be, and trying that on every day so you can shift your mind into that future state now. And what does this look like in real life? There's so many practical applications, but it is about building the trust to let life meet you through listening to your inner knowing and practicing saying yes or no to things that feel aligned or don't, when you would typically do the opposite of what you actually know to be true. And stepping away. When you are spinning your wheels, when you realize that you're getting like hooked into something and it's not working, stepping away, engaging in some body-led clarity so you can get to better outcomes. Thank you for listening and trusting that your deepest desires are inevitable and that you deserve to be turned on by life. There are new episodes every Wednesday and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern, so I'll see you back here soon. Are you still stuck in the cycle of overdrive and feeling anxious even after trying things like meditating, journaling, maybe even resting? These tools only work at the level of the mind and can't create the safety your body is craving when your nervous system is dysregulated. That's where the somatic return journey comes in. A free 5-day audio experience designed to help high-achieving women like you finally regulate your nervous system, awaken your divine feminine energy, and reconnect with the part of you that leads with flow and not force, no matter what's happening around you. In less than 15 minutes a day, you'll feel more grounded, empowered, and emotionally agile by this time next week. Head to the link in the show notes to get started.